Just before this episode, here's how you can get more from Never a Truer Word. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, you can subscribe to this channel to get early access to the weekly analysis episodes, video episodes so you can see the statements as I analyse them, and exclusive content too. And if you're here on YouTube, then become a member of the channel to get early access to everything and exclusive content not available anywhere else. Who is the Watcher, and what is it that the Watcher wants? That's what we're going to look at in this, the final episode of the Watcher series from Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And if you're here in episode 4, you are either addicted to this real life mystery or you've stumbled on it by accident, in which case go back to episode 1 and we'll see you back here when you're ready for it. It's a real life mystery. It really did happen. There was a Netflix dramatization about it, but we're looking at the real story, the story of Maria and Derek Broaddus. In 2014, they bought a house in Westfield, New Jersey. And when they bought that house, they started getting anonymous letters delivered to that house from someone calling themselves the Watcher. But why was the Watcher sending them letters? What did they hope to achieve? And who is the Watcher? Is the Watcher all they claim to be in the letters, or is there more behind it? That's what we've been looking at as we've analysed the letters one by one and word by word. And this is the final episode looking at the last letter the Broadduses received that we know of, letter number 4. Looking at who is the Watcher. What have I got on the Watcher so far? Listen, I think the Watcher's female. Almost 85 to 90% certain that the Watcher is a female. The Watcher knows the couple, but not very well. They don't let on very much that they know about the couple. Maybe they know some specific things they don't want to reveal because saying them would reveal the identity of the Watcher. I think the Watcher has suffered loss in their life. Loss of a father, loss of someone very close, potentially loss of a child as well. And I think from some of the things the Watcher is saying in their letters, they are depressed or lonely, or both. Okay, letter 4 is a real turn. It's very different from the other letters we've heard from the Watcher, so let's dive right on in. Now, this letter was written after the Broadduses sued the previous owners of the house because the previous owners had also had an anonymous letter and it became big news. The Watcher starts, "Violent winds and bitter cold. To the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria. You wonder who the Watcher is. Turn around, idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so-called neighbours, who has no idea who the Watcher could be. Or maybe you do know and are too scared to tell anyone. Good move. I walked past the news trucks when they took over my neighbourhood and mocked me. I watched as you watched from the dark house in an attempt to find me. Telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions. 657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the Boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher. 657 Boulevard is turning on me. It's coming after me. I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? It used to be my friend, and now it is my enemy. I am in charge of 657 Boulevard. It is not in charge of me. I will fend off its bad things and wait for it to become good again. It will not punish me. I will rise again. I will be patient and wait for this to pass and for you to bring the young blood back to me. 657 Boulevard needs young blood. It needs you. Come back. Let the young blood play again, like I once did. Let the young blood sleep in 657 Boulevard. Stop changing it and let it alone. Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles crash. Bones break. You are despised by the house and the Watcher won. Wow. It starts with this quite wordy and vivid wording. Violent winds and bitter cold to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria. Now, I looked up that very first phrase, violent winds and bitter cold. I thought that was worthy of a Google. Nah, almost every single Google hit for violent winds and bitter cold is an article about the Watcher's letters, apart from two that I could find. Number one was a description of a visit to the North Pole. Could be. And the other one was referring to a review of a Paris apartment on Craigslist, where the person, a woman, had stayed in Paris for the winter and said that they suffered violent winds and bitter cold. Next off is addressing the Broadduses by name by Derek and Maria. The first time I've seen those names in the letters, and they mentioned Derek first, Maria second. Now, is that in order of importance to the Watcher, that Derek comes first and Maria comes second? Could be. It could be that convention that in couples we name the man first and the woman second, but it could be Derek comes first. And certainly, look at how Derek is described. He is described as vile and spiteful. Now, previously, his character, certain aspects of his character have been called out, namely the greed. This time, it's a full-on character assassination. It's all about him. He is vile and spiteful, not just sometimes vile, sometimes spiteful, or he hasn't been vile in a situation or spiteful in a situation. He is full-on vile and spiteful. This is someone who does not seem to have a lot of respect for Derek. He is vile and spiteful, just no doubt about that for them. Whereas Maria is called a wench, which is much less hateful, much less anger there in the words to describe Maria. This seems to be an attack on Derek, and Maria seems to be getting it in the neck purely because she's married to Derek. In fact, the marriage is pointed out. It's not just Maria's a wench, it is wench of a wife. So her relationship to Derek is pointed out. The Watcher continues, "You wonder who the Watcher is. Turn around, idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me." And once again, we have one of those questions. The Watcher seems to be very good in writing at engaging the thought process of the Broadduses by asking questions, getting them to think, getting under their skin and getting inside their head. You wonder who the Watcher is, as that question is there. And then they say, "Turn around, idiots." Now, quite often, it seems to me that the Watcher is trying to get them to look out the back of the house, not out the front of the house. Now, obviously, if the Watcher does not really want their identity revealed, do they? So they're trying to get them to look out the back, but are they out the back? Don't know. Are they out the front? Could be. Lots of people are out the front, though. Or is turn around, idiots mean look backwards in life rather than physically? Does it mean this is someone from the past? But notice again, we have this anger and attack on the character of the Broadduses because they are referred to as idiots, and it's idiots plural. So although I think Derek is the person that is really being attacked here, it's idiots plural. So this is about both Derek and Maria. Turn around, idiots. The Watcher does love the word maybe. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so-called neighbours who has no idea who the Watcher could be. Or maybe you do know and are too scared to tell anyone. Good move. Now I wonder, do they know? Maybe you do know. Certainly is in their head that it's not one of these neighbours, and the Watcher and the Broadduses may know who the Watcher is. Someone from their past, perhaps. In fact, is it that it's entirely likely to be someone? Is what the Watcher was doing looking for attention, sending these anonymous notes in the hope that one or both of Derek and Maria would realise who is sending these notes and start to have contact with the Watcher as a person? Hey, are you sending these notes? Are you the person that's been sending me these notes? Please leave off my family. But the Watcher would get the attention and the contact with the Broadduses that they seem to desire. Or is there some sort of secret going on in there? Is this someone that Derek or Maria did not want the other person or other people to know that they had any sort of relationship with? Therefore, one of them may really suspect who the Watcher is, someone from their past that they have moved on from, no longer want to be associated with, and they are too scared to tell anyone who the Watcher is. I think that's really possible. Whatever is true, I think the Watcher wanted attention. Didn't just want to dick about with the Broadduses and make them do things and make them scared. I believe from this, the reason for writing the notes was that they wanted one of the Broadduses to contact them because they would have an idea who it was in their life that was sending these anonymous notes, and wanted the Broadduses to check them up, to say, hey, are you writing these? Will you stop writing these? But oh my God, I've got the contact that I so wanted. I've seen it so many times in life where someone acts to get attention. When you don't get it the nice way, then you try and get it the nasty way. Good move, they finish off by saying. We saw bad move in letter 1. We've seen move in other letters. Good move is something. Do they play chess? No, I think move, again, is to do with this job that involves realtors or real estate. The Watcher continues, I walked by the news trucks when they took over my neighbourhood and walked me. Now, this again, I think, is one of those good guesses. The story became big news. The Watcher may have seen it on the news, even though they are nowhere near the house itself. But when you see lots of reporters reporting on the news, you know there are news trucks nearby, and the Watcher is using this intelligence that they have to make good, well-educated guesses. They talk about the news trucks taking over my neighbourhood, not the neighbourhood. Now, how do you describe where you live? Is it my neighbourhood or the neighbourhood? It's usually the neighbourhood, isn't it? My neighbourhood, don't really say that unless you're talking to someone who comes from far away. However, they are trying to say this is all the same place, that they are close, they live in the neighbourhood. They introduce themselves in letter 1 as neighbours. So I think they really, if they were local, if they were from around there, they would have said when they took over the neighbourhood. And these news trucks mocked me. So I didn't see the news stories at the time. I haven't watched any of the news stories at the time, but I imagine they would be characterising the anonymous letter writer as creepy, crazy, deranged even, so they may well have felt mocked there. But also we had this sense, or I had this sense of depression or very big unhappiness in the Watcher's life. So if they're down on themselves and they've got this low self-esteem, they would think that these news reports were mocking them. They say, I watched as you watched from the dark house. Interesting there. I thought this was something about doing it in the dark, but it's not the dark that this happened in. It didn't happen at night time. They refer to the house as a dark house. Now, the house has always been positive mostly to them, especially the history of the house, but now they are referring to it as the dark house. And they say they watched as you watched, repetition of watch there. Watch, funnily enough, very important concept to the Watcher. But they say they spotted them because telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions. Well, where do I go with this one? Number one, telescopes are for looking at space, not creeping at someone across the street. Binoculars are wonderful inventions. And yes, telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions. You don't say you actually used them, though, the Watcher, do you? You do not say you used them, merely that they are wonderful inventions. So again, I think another lie, something designed to make the Watcher seem close at hand to the Broadduses. And then it goes even stranger. 657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the Boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher. We've got a violence and a strength in the language that has not been present in any of the letters before. It survived the attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. So we really have some strength, assault there, strength, army, bit of violence going on there. My soldiers of the Boulevard followed my orders to a T and they carried out their mission. Again, very, very strong violent imagery, which the Watcher has not really gone to before. They have used young blood, but that's a bit more creepy. This is a bit more active. But you can see here that the Watcher is no longer as one with the house. I thought the house is a bit of a metaphor for the person writing the letters, and the house character seems to have moved as the character of the writer has moved as well. It was alluring and wanting to get people in, just very much like the writer in the first letters. It was a bit sad, just like the writer in the third letters, and now we have the writer and the house standing apart. They don't seem to be as one with the house anymore. It took supporters to defend the house. The house wasn't strong enough. The person writing wasn't strong enough to do it by themselves. But hey, all hail the Watcher. And it turns again. 657 Boulevard is turning on me. Is it coming after me? I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? It used to be my friend and now it is my enemy. I am in charge of 657 Boulevard. It is not in charge of me. I will fend off the bad things and wait for it to become good again. Now, if this person was identifying with the house, this is very much self-hatred. The house is turning on me. That's me turning on me. It's coming after me. That's me coming after me. I don't understand why. It used to be my friend and now I am my enemy. That is self-hatred, self-loathing being described there if we go with this metaphor that the watcher, the person writing, identifies with the house. The watcher asks, what spell did you cast on it? Which again, I think is something more likely to be heard from a female than a male. I mean, a male who likes songwriting or poetry or something like that, they might ask, what spell did you cast on it? But again, seems more likely for me to come from a female. Also reminiscent, this is 2014. Harry Potter was one of the big things around about that time, maybe just before that time. But again, we've got interesting books or films possibly coming through there with what spell did you cast on it? And then we have an interesting passage. I will be patient and wait for this to pass and for you to bring the young blood back to me. 657 Boulevard needs young blood. It needs you. So there's a sense here of them missing the Broadduses. The Broadduses have not been to the house. They were too scared to go there. They started all this legal action. It just became all very messy. So they didn't move into the house to live. In fact, I think they got tenants to live in the house, which all would have been documented, I think, on the news, seeing as this became a news story. But this person, the watcher, has decided to be patient and to wait for this to pass. Even though they've tried to scare the Broadduses off, they now seem to regret that and want to wait for the Broadduses to come back. But I've said before, this has all been articulated through wanting the children. In all the other letters, it's about bring the children to me. But for the first time, and this letter is addressed to the Broadduses, it needs you. Not both of you, not you as a couple, just it needs you. The house needs Derek or it needs Maria. This is not about the children. This is about Derek or Maria, and the watcher wants to feel close to that person. Repetition of the word sleep, by the way. We had wondering where the children were going to sleep in, I think, letter 2. And now we have the children sleeping in the house again. And then at the end of that passage, after all of this, the house turning, about being patient, and I need you, and yet the kids sleep there. Finally, it kind of like as if, I haven't gone back to some of the themes that I was using before, so stop changing the house and let it alone. Now, at this point, I think they had done pretty much everything they could with the house, had they? Or maybe they wanted to split it up, but it's just as if they've gone, this is what I used to write, I better get some of that back in there. Next, we have a section which is maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles crash. Bones break. Sounds like threats. Sounds like if you don't come back or if you don't do what I say, then these bad things are going to happen to you. But there are no explicit threats again. They just toss out bad things that could happen, but don't say why the bad things could happen. Don't say who they could happen to. Don't say what could cause them to happen or anything like that. It's as if they want to be scary, but really cannot be properly threatening or properly scary, or do not want these bad things to happen to that person. They're just no explicit threats again. This love of maybe. This person seems to be very vague. Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe it's something as simple as a mild illness, maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Now, they're quite quick with lots of things. Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, planes and cars and bikes crash. This section in the middle, the one about the mild illness and the one about the death of a pet, they spend a lot more words talking about them as if these things are more vivid to them. Maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day after day. I should say fell is what is in the letter, although it's supposed to be feel, I think. And maybe the mysterious death of a pet. A lot more words used on those ones. Interestingly, again, these are the things that would maybe worry a woman more than they would worry a man. Men worry, in general, more about car accidents and fires and big violent things, whereas women would worry about this illness that would nag away at them day after day after day after day, and also maybe worry more or feel more the death of a pet and be less manly, masculinely stoical about that. So something else that makes me think that the watcher, the person writing the letters, is a woman, is female. This description here may be something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day after day. That is a description of depression. I said before, I think that the watcher is suffering from depression, low mood, low self-esteem, and that there is a description of depression. An illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day. Something a little bit out of place was the mention of bicycles. Planes and cars and bicycles crash. Now, plane crashes, car crashes, they're big things. Bicycle crashes, I get, can be very, very serious and very, very painful, but it seems slightly out of place. Is the watcher a bike rider? Possibly. It just seems out of place in that whole section. The letter finishes, you are despised by the house and the watcher won. You are despised by the house. Well, if the house is the watcher, if the watcher is writing on behalf of the house, then this goes with vile, spiteful, idiots, despised by the watcher. They really do not like this person, but I think they protest too much. I think they actually want to be close but have been rebuffed or let go in some way, and that is where the despised comes from. And that is letter number 4. So let's wrap it all up and look to answer the question, who is the watcher and what do they want? So let's look at letter 4 first of all. What was the intent of this letter? It's to say they won. They want to get across they won, even though they blatantly have not got what they want, because they really should have got what they want. The first letter seemed to want to repel the Broadduses away, but instead the Broadduses have gone and it's now saying, I regret this, I need you back. They want to show anger and show anger about the character, especially of Derek. Idiots, vile, spiteful, you're despised. But they want to carry on with this relationship that they've been having. As one-sided as it is, they want to carry this relationship on and they're regretful that it's not there. What do they know? We've always said that looking at what the watcher knows will reveal a lot more about them. Once more, a little bit of distance there in that the story was on the news. That doesn't take local knowledge for it to be true. They just know it was on the news. They saw it on the news. But they do seem to know the character of Derek. And they characterise him as vile and spiteful. So from letter 4, before we do the full summation for the series, from letter 4, who is the watcher? The watcher is a reader or a big film buff, but I really do think they are a reader. They know about stories and characterization and so on. I do think they're female from the focus on children, although they could be male looking at that section about battles and soldiers and barricades and so on, but I do really think female. Mentally, the watcher is in a bad place. They're one of these people that's acting up and acting badly to get some attention and get some of the things that they crave, rather than acting in a good way to build solid relationships and to get things they crave that way. And they're self-absorbed. I don't think they have much time for anything else but themselves in their head. I think they see themselves, even if they won't say it out loud, they see themselves as a loser. They have low self-esteem, and I think they suffer from a lot of jealousy as a result of that. I think they've suffered loss in their lives as well. They really do dislike Derek. Derek is the prime focus of their dislike, and they're a fan of the horror genre as well. Think they are a cyberstalker. They do seem to be able to watch things in the news, find out things from social media. I do think they have that cyberstalker thing going on. I think their job involves addresses. I think they are intelligent. They're not very, very thick. They don't know the couple that well. They know things about the couple, and they might have known the couple well in the past, but they don't know the couple well now, I don't think. Certainly, they are not local to the house. Now, the question is, who is the watcher? That's kind of like lots about the watcher, lots about their character, lots about their situation, but who is it as a person? I'll tell you in a minute. I'd love to know who you think the watcher is. Do let me know in the comments. You can get involved in the comments on this platform if you can, or give us a buzz on social media. All the links to social media are contained in the description for this show. The like button or the share button will help the story of the watcher get to a lot more people who could be in the mood for a big diversion at this time of year. So why not press the like button to help other people find it, or share it with friends who you think will love the mystery of the watcher, or maybe see whether your friends would agree with you or me, or disagree with you or me on how we tie the whole thing up. You'll use the like or the share button for that. We will be back to regular episodes soon, and if you want to get them as soon as they are released, then press the subscribe button on YouTube or the follow button on Spotify. If you'd like to get those episodes before anyone else or get some exclusive content, become a channel member on YouTube or a subscriber on Spotify. But as someone said the other day, don't become both because it's the exact same bits of content. Either become a member of the channel on YouTube or subscribe on Spotify. Don't do both. There is no need to do that. That way you will get episodes like this before anyone else. You will also get exclusive content that no one else gets. So, who is the Watcher? What are you saying? Well, let's start with what they want. The big themes of what the Watcher wants. They want children. They want children in their lives for some reason. I think they want to feel close or connected to Derek. I also think they want to matter to Derek. And if they can't matter in a close, friendly way, then they want to get under his skin and annoy him and get at him. So I think they want to matter at Derek. I'm sure they prefer that was in a nice way, but if not, they're going to make Derek matter to, or they'll make themselves matter to Derek, but in a nasty way by getting under his skin. So, who is the Watcher? I think the Watcher's an ex-girlfriend of Derek, or an associate of Derek, or someone who had a long-term crush on Derek. I think the Watcher is jealous of his life, including his marriage, his children, the big house, the riches that Derek seems to have amassed to be able to have such a huge house. I'm sure they are very jealous of Derek's life. Perhaps they think, maybe being an ex, that they deserve some of that themselves. If it wasn't for Derek, they would still be with Derek and they could have some of that themselves. And I think the Watcher is childless and has suffered loss in their life, if not of a very close family member. It could be a child or something like a miscarriage or something like that, which still haunts them to this day. And that is who I think the Watcher is. Neveratruerword.com is the website to go to if you want to get more episodes looking at the words that people use and seeing how you can decode them to find out a little bit more about the truth. Podcasts, videos, sign up for the monthly newsletter as well. Join the Facebook group so you can discuss things like this with other people as well. That's neveratruerword.com. I hope you've enjoyed this series of The Watcher. We will be back with something new soon from Never a Truer Word.